and age, there is just so much information available everywhere. In fact, there is so much information that you get super overwhelmed and anxious, which gives you this unsettling feeling that keeps your brain running all day and all night. And you get into the state of analysis paralysis, where you just keep on overcomplicating without actually achieving anything, which eventually just makes you want to give up on your goal. That's why I created this muscle building checklist. We will go over all the important things that you need to do in order to build muscle. So just write all of these things down, and as we go along, check them off of your list. And after you finish watching this video, you will know exactly what parts of the puzzle you are still missing, and you will be finally able to escape analysis paralysis. First up on the list, we have progressive overload. Progressive overload is one of the most important things on this list, because without it, you will keep on looking the same year after year. You should go into every workout with the goal of either progressing in weight or in reps. If you are still new to the gym, you will be progressing very fast, but as the time will go on, it will slow down by a lot. And you simply won't be able to progress from workout to workout, because that is just impossible. Sometimes it will take multiple workouts to progress by at least one rep, but you should always try your best to progress forward. That is what is going to guarantee that you will build a ton of muscle. Of course, in order to progressively overload, you need to know what you did in the last workout. And you might think that you can remember exactly what you did in the last workout, but you simply will not be able to do that accurately. That's why you need to track your progress. It doesn't matter how you do it. If you choose to use a tracking app, a notepad in your phone, or just a paper notebook, just write down the exercise, the reps in each set, and the weight you used. And do that with every single exercise in your routine. When you then come to the gym to do the next workout, you can look at what you did last time exactly, and try to beat it by at least one rep. I can't even put into words how important it is to do this. What is also incredibly important is that you use all the necessary movement patterns. Don't worry, this is not some kind of science-based nonsense. Every body part has a couple of movement patterns that you should use to get the best overall development. So for example, for the chest, you want to be doing a horizontal press, an incline press, and an isolation exercise. If you use all of these movement patterns, you will be completely covered, and you won't need to stress about missing out on some weird exercise you saw on TikTok. If you want to look at all the movement patterns for all the body parts, you can grab the simplified cheat sheet that I made. That also includes recommended amount of sets per week and also rep ranges. The link to the cheat sheet will be down in the description below. And by the way, it's completely free. Well, now you know that you should do all the movement patterns, but that's not all. If you really want to make sure that you are doing everything that you can to build the most muscle possible, you should hit each body part twice per week. Simply because if you hit your chest on Monday for example, then it's probably going to be fully recovered by Wednesday. And if the only time you train your chest is on Monday, then you are basically wasting a half a week of growth. That's why hitting each body part twice per week is the sweet spot. There are of course some exceptions, where the number can be higher than twice per week, but also lower. To give you an example of that, smaller body parts that recover very quickly can be hit for example 3 times per week without an issue. So for example calves. But there are also situations where training some body parts once per week will be okay. Most commonly this applies to leg training. Some people just don't care about having super massive legs, but they don't want to have chicken legs, so they just train legs once per week, and that's completely fine. Or you are just like me and your legs are already way too big and you don't want them to look even bigger. Because if they got any bigger, you would look like reverse Johnny Bravo. And let's be honest, that looks absolutely terrible. But really, for most of you guys, training each body part twice per week will be exactly what you're looking for. Well, now you are training each body part twice per week, that's great. But when you are actually training in a gym, you need to make sure that you are going hard and that you are focusing on what you're doing. If you start a set of bench press and instead of mentally focusing on performing the bench press, you are thinking about how you are gonna play video games with the boys tonight, then I can guarantee you that set was basically worthless. And that's for 2 reasons. You didn't push hard enough to reach failure, and you did not concentrate on what your muscles are doing. It might seem like a minor detail, but I assure you that it's not. It is incredibly important, so don't underestimate it, because that's how the best physiques are built, by going hard and thinking about how your muscles are working. Everything we went over so far was super impactful, but we are still missing a very important thing when it comes to training, and that is having a structured training plan. This is an absolute must, because if you just do random exercises in each workout, you simply can't expect great results. That's just how it is. You can create a very simple training plan. All that matters is that you have some structure that you can follow and that you don't get lost. I would of course recommend you to get one of my training plans if you want to have a great structure that you can follow and that is very easy to understand. No matter what you decide to do, it's super important that you have a training plan that you can follow. Now let's take a look at all the nutrition related necessities. I of course have to mention that you should consume enough protein. Go for roughly 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. This information is pretty well known. But what is not really that well known is the importance of quality of protein. To absolutely simplify it, make sure that most of your protein sources are foods like lean meat, eggs, different types of dairy, and occasionally some protein supplements if needed. The amount of protein per day that you should consume is pretty easy to understand, but that's not the whole story. To utilize that protein in the best way possible, it's very important that you spread it out evenly throughout the day. The number of meals you should have can be anywhere between 3 to 6 meals per day. And based on the amount of meals you chose to eat per day, you will try to distribute your daily protein intake between them. So for example, if your daily protein intake is 160 grams and you want to eat 4 meals per day, then each one of your meals should contain roughly 40 grams of protein. You don't need to spread it out so precisely, that would just stress you out. Just make sure that you are roughly around that number in each meal and that you get in all of your protein at the end of the day. And when you get that done, also make sure that you are properly feeding and also hydrating yourself before and after workout. Because you need the energy to push through the workout, but you also need to refuel your body afterwards, so you can build more muscle. But you don't have to go sprinting home right after your workout to eat your post-workout meal as fast as possible. The anabolic window really isn't that dramatic. Yes, you should eat after your workout, but if you had a decently sized pre-workout meal, then there is no problem with waiting an hour or more after your workout to eat your post-workout meal. Because the nutrients from your pre-workout meal are still in your system, so it's completely fine if you eat the post-workout meal a little later. Of course, as with the training plan, you should also have a meal plan set up. Then you will know exactly what you need to do in order to achieve your goal. I would once again recommend you one of my nutrition plans, but you already know that. If you are going to build a meal plan by yourself and you are less experienced in the realm of nutrition, I would recommend you to focus on just 2 things. Your daily protein intake and your daily calorie intake. That's it. Don't worry about anything else, because if you don't know what you're doing, you would just get super confused and overwhelmed, and you would have no meal plan whatsoever as a result of that. To figure out your daily calorie intake, you will first need to go to this website, where you fill in all the info and then as a result it will show you your maintenance calories. From that point you will either add 500 calories on top of that number if you want to go on a bulk, or you subtract 500 calories if you want to go on a cut. And that's basically the simplest way of building a meal plan. But if even that sounds too complicated to you, you can just get one of my nutrition plans. Well, that was everything training and nutrition related, but we are still not done. The next thing we have on our list is cardio. And you might be like, why is cardio on a muscle building checklist? Well, that's very simple, my friend. It's because it will help you build more muscle. I know, shocking. Most of the people just hate cardio, but it's basically free muscle mass that is just waiting for you to pick it up off the floor. So stop avoiding it like the plague and start moving. Any movement will greatly benefit you. It doesn't matter what you choose to do. As long as you remain active, you will be all good. There is one other thing that often gets neglected, and that is getting in enough sleep. It is truly the simplest thing that you can do. It's one thing if your schedule is legitimately full and you are struggling with getting in enough sleep, but if you are just procrastinating instead of going to sleep, and then missing out on all the muscle building and health benefits, then you really need to rethink your priorities. As one of you commented on one of my recent videos, don't stay up late for something that you wouldn't wake up for. I think that this sums it up perfectly. Which brings us to the last point on our checklist, and that is patience. Whether you like it or not, there is no building muscle fast or any quick fixes. It all takes time. And if you are able to go over all the points I showed you in this checklist and say, yes, I'm doing all of that, then you